G'day everybody, welcome back to another tutorial. You may have seen a recent video on my channel which was called the Fire Starter, which was a speed art video. This video is going to be the full composite tutorial of that picture. So as usual, let's get started. So this is the picture that I'm going to start off with, and you might be able to see I've already used my selection brush tool here. If I turn off the background here, I've made a selection just of the hoodie on its own layer and also a selection just on the hand on its own layer. If you would like to watch me do the whole selection, I'll put that at the end of the video if you'd like to watch that selection process. So the first thing we're going to do is bring over this picture of the mask, and again you can see I've used my selection brush tool and just selected the part of the mask that I wanted to use, and I have put that mask on its own layer. So I'm just going to copy that over with a Command C and come over to my picture here. Let's make that a little bit bigger using my Command plus, or if you're on Windows, Control plus, and I'm just going to copy that mask in place right on top here, and to come over to my move tool and just resize that mask and place it about where I think it needs to go. And let's put it about there. Looks pretty good. I'm going to put a mask on that, so let's mask that, put a mask, grab our brush. We want a nice soft brush in the basics here. Just soft brush. Going to be painting in black. Flow at 25% is okay. Making our brush a little bit bigger with our right and left bracket keys, and we're just going to mask just the part of that hat that we want and mask out what we don't want. Just blending it in. I'm just swapping between white and black, just getting the parts that I want in and the parts that I don't want. So that looks pretty good at the moment. So let's leave that at that. Let's come down to the hand here and let's make another copy, Command J, so we've got two copies. Let's bring one right up the top. So as you can see now that the mask has gone behind that hand. So we've got one hand up the top here and one hand under the hoodie here. So now we can concentrate on the hand. So with our hand here, what we're going to do to start off this is we're going to come up to Filters and go to Detect and Detect Edges. You can see it's going to make that hand look pretty black. Let's make it a little bit bigger, Command plus, so we can see what we're doing. Right in the middle here, I'm going to add a mask to the hand down here as well. Just click on the mask, make sure we clicked on this mask here. We're still on our brush, we've still got black, we've got a soft brush. Going to drop the flow to about 20. I think that should be pretty good. Going to make my brush quite big, and what I'm going to do is just bring back a little bit of detail in the hand, not a lot, just in the middle here a little bit. Make my brush a little bit smaller and just on the fingers here. Just bringing that little bit of detail back. Not too much, that looks pretty good. Maybe I've gone a little bit far there. I can see that part of the mask, so we'll just mask that out. There we go, that's looking pretty good. So we've got our hand as we want it. Now on this hand layer, let's just rename that hand so we know what we're doing. We're going to come down here to Layer Effects here, this FX one here on the hand layer. I'm going to click on Inner Glow. This is important here. Let's change the blend mode to Color Dodge. Come down to the color. With our little hue slider, we're going to move it into sort of the yellows. And just click in here, this yellow color. We'll bring it back, maybe on our hue slider, a little bit more into the yellow. That looks a bit better. And now let's bring up the radius. Maybe bring down the intensity a little bit. Clicking back on the color, just drag it down towards the blacks a little bit more. That's looking a little bit better. So that's looking pretty good. While we're here, let's click on Color Overlay. The same thing, let's click on Color Dodge. Click on the color here. Let's come into the reds. Maybe down a little bit so we've got some of that red, some of that yellow coming in. So that looks pretty good about there. So we got our hand starting to sort of look a little bit like a fire. So the next thing we're going to do on this hand is bring over this picture here. So Command C, come over to this picture here and right on top of the hand here, Command V. Let's grab our Move tool and let's just double click on that and resize it. I'm going to change the blend mode to screen. As you can see, it's still got a lot of black behind it here. So what we're going to do on this background here is come over here to our blend ranges. And we're going to come over here to source layer ranges. And I'm going to bring that all the way down to that corner and then a little bit in so it takes away all the black from that picture. Let's click off that. Command 0 to get back to normal size. And now this one, we're going to call this flame texture. Flame texture. We're going to clip it to the hand. So let's clip that to the hand so it's inside of the hand. Let's bring that back up again so we can see what we're doing. Make that a lot smaller. I'm just going to go around now and add this to sort of places around the hand, mostly the fingers. So we're going to do lots of copies. So Command J again. Let's bring that one up here and move it around. And let's just keep doing that until we're happy. Okay, I think we've got enough of those ones now. So let's click on the first one of the flame texture all the way down to here. Click on the last one and Command G. And we'll just rename that group flame texture as well. So now we're going to bring over another flame. We're going to put it right on top here now. So let's bring over this one. Command C, over to here, right on top, Command V. Again, let's change that to screen, make that a little bit smaller. Make that a little bit smaller as well. Again, we've got the black still coming through on the back. So let's click on this little cog again for our blend options. And again, bring that down and across a little bit. Okay, so let's place this one. Place that right there in the palm and again start making some more copies. You can place them wherever you like. I'm going to place it just all the way around. Okay, let's group all those together. Click on the top one, click on the last one, Command G. Let's call these ones hand flames. One more flame to come across, which is this one here. So Command C. Back over, right on top again, Command V. Again, let's make that a little bit smaller. Blend mode to screen. And again, let's get rid of that with our blend options. Bring that all the way down and across. And now let's place this one around our hand as well, mostly on the fingers. So we're just making copies with Command J. Don't forget to turn them around to make them look a bit more random. Resizing. Okay, let's click on the top one again and the bottom one, Command G to group. And let's call that mostly finger flames. We've got all of our flames in place now. So let's put our background in place, which is this one here. So Command C, come over to the picture and we want that right on the bottom here, Command V, so it goes all the way behind our man. And we're going to come up to Arrange and flip horizontal so the bars are on the left hand side. So let's resize that and out a little bit. Looking pretty good. Okay, so clicking on our background, let's come down here to adjustments and let's add an exposure. And let's clip that exposure to that background and make it really dark, all the way so you can't see it. Make sure we're clicked on the exposure adjustment layer here. We know we've still got a soft brush. Let's change the flow to 15% and make our brush fairly big. Make sure we're painting in black here. Quite a big brush. And I'm just going to paint these bars back in a little bit. Change over to white if you want to add a little bit more exposure back in there. But I'm happy with that. That looks pretty good. I'm going to come over to the hoodie here. So let's name that hoodie. So that's just the hoodie layer by itself. And I'm going to add a HSL adjustment and clip that to the hoodie and then bring that luminosity shift all the way down. Make it quite dark and then just bring that one up a tiny bit, the hue. You can make the hoodie any color you like just by moving the slider. I'm just going to move it up into the blue a tiny little bit. Looking good about there. Just going to come back to my hand here on my FX, and on my inner glow, the color, just click on the color there. And I'm just going to bring that hand down into the darker area of the yellow a bit more. That looks a little bit better. What we're going to do next is just right on top of that mask layer here. Let's call that mask so we can see it. Right on top of this mask layer, I'm going to add another adjustment, and it's going to be a recolor. So click on recolor, and I want to bring that into the orangey reds as well, sort of like just about there. And I'm going to invert it with a Command I. So just invert that color. Going to come over here to my brush, and the brushes I'm going to pick is in sprays and splatters, and I'm going to pick this one here, which is an airbrush. Make sure my flow is going to be dropped down to about, let's say, 10%. And I also want to drop my opacity to 50%. I'm going to use this as my highlights now. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and just on the hoodie here, make sure on this one we're painting in white. And I'm just going to use this recolor just to add some little orange highlights to the hoodie here. Just move around and add some of those, especially up the top here. I'm going to add a little bit of highlight on this mask and on this mask here. And that looks pretty good, a little bit on the top there. And while I'm here, I can see some of this mask is not really that great. So I'm just going to click on the mask layer here, grab my smudge tool, small brush. I'm just going to go over that and smudge it a little bit. Make that a little bit smoother there, maybe under here as well. Okay, that looks a bit better. Command 0. On that recolor layer, let's just drop the opacity a little bit down to about, let's drop it all the way down to 50. Now on the hoodie layer as well, I'm going to add another adjustment, which is an exposure. Clip it to the hoodie. I'm going to make that darker as well. I'm also going to do the same with the mask. So come down to exposure. In the adjustments, exposure. Clip that to the mask. Make that darker as well. That is looking pretty good. And let's add some highlights to these bars as well. So back on our recolor, back on our brush, we're still painting in white. We've still got our flow the same. So let's just paint some of that orange color into those bars. Maybe turn up that a little bit, the flow. Okay, one of the last things to do is let's bring over some sparks. So we're going to use this picture here, Command C, over to our hoodie. We want it just above our background picture here, so Command V. Again, we're going to change that blend mode to screen and then use our blend options here to bring that down so we're not seeing any of that black at the back. That looks pretty good. Over on our move tool, we're going to make that bigger and bring the sparks up so I can see them. Let's make another copy. Command J. Let's move some down here in the corner. And Command J again. And let's bring some down just in the back here. Okay, maybe, no, that looks pretty good, I think. Not looking too bad. So one more thing to do, you know how much I love the tone mapping feature of Affinity Photo. So I'm going to click on the top, come down here, hold shift and click on the bottom. And I'm going to merge visible all these layers. So we have one layer right on top. I'm going to take that layer over to tone mapping. The one I'm going to pick this week is dramatic. And I'm going to bring the tone compression all the way down to 15%. Going to bring the exposure all the way down as well. And let's just move the saturation down a little bit. And maybe the white balance just a tiny bit into the blue there. And let's hit apply. So there we go, everybody. Maybe we could just add a curves up the top down to adjustments. Put a curves on the top of there. Bring that down a little bit. Let's make our S curve, maybe flatten the blacks a tad. So there we go, everybody. That is my tutorial this week on the picture that I call the fire starter. I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when I upload my next video. If you would like to support my channel, you can head over to the Buy Me a Coffee site. That link will be below. But until next time, I'm going to say to you, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video.